Hey everyone, we are so excited to have Leisha back again today to talk about our individual circuitry. This is the second part of the series. Super fun talk about human design and our recently certified analyst, professional analyst, Leisha Barnette. And so thank you, Leisha, for teaching. Thank you for everybody that's live. Hello to everybody that's watching the replay. And so please have your charts if you want to ask Leisha some questions at the end. This is such a good resource and such a great time for you to know yourself, so if you haven't set an intention for this class for this 1 hour today, let it just be to know and to love yourself. And I'll let Leisha take it from there. I'll see you guys shortly.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Mhm.
You said it perfectly, Tiffany, with the know yourself and love yourself. And honestly, it's going to become more and more kind of the frequency is going to be more intense around that as the years unfold. We're not going away from that. So the more we can use human design to really know ourselves, what's true for us, and where are we like fixed versus where we don't need to worry about it and we don't need to even try to be that thing, the more we're going to feel like we have the life that we are meant to have, that is our life, as these years kind of it's just going to get more intense. And there's a lot of mechanics behind that, but we'll leave it at that for this session. So, okay, so today we are doing individual circuitry part 2. So we're in kind of a circuitry series for the summer. We did part 1 last time, so I kind of wanted to just touch on what we talked about, because if you have not seen part 1 yet, I definitely would recommend, guide to watch that first, because it's going to provide a lot of context to what is circuitry, what are we talking about here, and really give us the 3 main circuit groups that we're exploring through this summer series. So today is the second part. Last time we, like I said, we did an intro to circuitry. We looked at the different types. There's individual circuitry, which is, again, we're exploring more today. There's tribal, there's collective, and then within all of these, there's different, subgroups and things. That's what we're going to be looking at today within individual. And that really is the foundation of the body graph and our definition. It's going to carry the frequency. It's going to depend on if we're here to be unique versus here to support in a small family or small tribe versus here to share what we see with the collective circuitry. So the keywords for each are really important. Individual is empower self, you empower others, and I'll review that on the next slide. Tribal is about support and collective is about sharing. And we looked at, what makes up the circuits, which, just as a review, is, when you have a gate on either side in a center, that makes the channel, and the channel is what makes up the circuitry. So you can see here, individual is all this middle kind of backbone structure, providing all the structure. I mean, this actually is sort of looking like a background, the integration channels. It's all that inside line when you look at kind of the way that all the channels line up. So it's almost like, it's the backbone of tribes, and the collective is the individual. So, and then, we mentioned the circuit group. So I just want to kind of touch on that's what we did in part 1. We're going to pick back up. We also we started individual circuitry, and we talked about the integration circuitry, which is not every single channel in this little backbone looking pink part right here, but it's almost all of these, and it's about self-empowerment. It's super like kind of self-contained, not really here to be, influenced, and very mutated, which empowers others. And again, mutation is 100% not always comfortable or fun or welcomed, right? But that's what an individual is here to do. And so that journey becomes about someone with individual circuitry, really the journey of loving themselves, the journey of realizing that's what you're here for, and just embracing that you're not going to fit in. Individual circuitry people don't fit in, and they're going to feel like, oh, I don't fit in, I'm different, which has a whole, kind of, there's both sides of that. There's like, I'm different, I'm awesome, I'm unique, but then it's like you don't really get to fit in. So how does that feel, So just want to kind of give an overview of that. And this is kind of the points that I was just making. So individual has the integration circuitry, which is about self-empowerment. Today, we're going to go over the knowing circuit and the centering circuit. So actually, you can see that here, and I have other slides to depict. Now, again, here to anyone with individual circuitry, if you have an individual channel, even if you have an individual gate, I have an individual gate in my incarnation cross, which is those top 4 gates, 70% of your expression in this life and your purpose. Hold on, I'm kind of adminning too till Tiffany gets back. So I'm going to let someone in. So welcome to anyone else joining. We're kind of just getting started, and Tiffany will be right back. Hi, Desiree. I love the spelling of your name. Where was I? Okay, well, here to empower others by being unique. If anyone wants to tell me where I was, please let me know. Oh yeah, so I have an individual gate. Even if you have one gate in an undefined center and it's not always expressed and you don't have a channel, you still have individual expression. And honestly, it's kind of the core of this whole thing is we are all here to be our unique individual selves, whether or not we have an individual channel. I have no individual channels, but I definitely am unique and individual. Yeah, Cassie, if you don't have any channels, does it affect you? You have one channel, and I think yours is collective, if I remember. I think it's 6347. But I have only one channel, no individual channels. Yeah, I have 3 individual gates. Yeah, so Cassie, exactly. Like it will depend on who you're around, who activates those channels, who provides the other side of that channel. Like I have gate 22. I'll just pop over so we can kind of make this real. So I have gate 22 in my, is that the one you have too? Nice. I am so grateful for my gate 22 grace and openness. Like, I don't know who I would be or how pleasant I would be if I didn't have that. So I'm just saying, I really love it and I feel it in my cross. But that's an individual channel. But look, I have it in an undefined center, so it's not always expressed. It's not always, I'm not always graceful and open and all of that. It depends on who I'm around, who might have a defined solar plexus, or who might have the gate 12 here on the other side. Sorry, these pop up all the time. So on the other side of 22, you can see that there's the 12. So if someone has the 12, I have a friend who she doesn't have the 22, but she has the 12. So we form that graceful openness together, that whole channel. So it will depend on, if you have it in an undefined center, it will depend on who you're around, the transits, who has a defined center that allows that you'll find that you express, that you can express it. So, or that it's not even you can with your mind express it. You don't even have to be aware of it. It naturally happens. Okay, so I just wanted to illustrate that a little bit. So here to empower others by being unique. Again, that's kind of all of us, but it's going to express differently, especially if you have a lot of individual activation. So tribal, as we said, it's about defense and preservation of reproduction and material support. I believe we'll start that next time, because you start with the individual, you build to the tribe, and then you've got the collective, all of humanity, society, that. And that's kind of a look at the tribal circuitry. It's that inside track, almost like a baseball diamond kind of thing. And this is about support, the material world and all of that. So just as a glimpse of that. And then in the collective, we've got the logical and understanding circuit, and then the abstract sensing circuit. So you can see they're kind of split in the body graph, except for between the head and the root. So we'll get into that. And Cassie, I believe you have this one. So that's, so that's more of an abstract kind of over time kind of thing.
Yeah, that's my only one.
What's that? Yeah, that's your only channel. You're a mental projector. Yes, which is actually, anyway, yes, you guys probably have seen my chart in these classes before, but same thing. I have one channel. That's it, 1648. That's all I got. But I find that to be, because what happens in this journey, what has happened for me and what I hear others talking about pattern wise, I can feel the pattern of this happening, is as you start to know what your design is and you start to watch it and you and you kind of test and you don't force things as much. It's like, I wouldn't want more than one channel. It feels great. Like everything being a 1-3 profile, like it's like, yes, I'm so glad I'm a 1-3. I'm so glad I only have 1648. If I could have one channel, that's it. So it starts to feel like, because it's you. So you start feeling this like, this freedom in it, this like grace in it, this beauty in it, and this love for yourself layer by layer, where I didn't realize that I didn't have that self-love. So it's just interesting because I imagine maybe you can relate, Cassie. I don't know, since we're one channel projectors over here. It starts to feel like that's all I can be. That feels great. That's all I would want. That's the only channel I would want, and that's a journey, because of course doesn't feel like that at first. And then, okay, so we said in the collective, that's about sharing. It's about either seeing the patterns in the future logically, or understanding upon reflection what just happened abstractly, about the past. So just as a glimpse of what we're going to go into next, I'm going to build on that. And this is the little D there. This for no reason, that was an accident. This is a general look at the circuitry, and I'm happy. I think maybe Tiffany even shared this, but we can make a note to share this because I like this graphic. And I refer to it often, even studying for years, even going through all these classes. I'm like, I need to visually see it again. So this kind of lays out, and I'll just point to today, this is the individual circuitry here. They've got the integration channels separate because it's part of the individual circuitry. It's about being an individual, but it's not really a separate circuit group. It's still about empowerment. So we've got all those lines in the middle, and then we've got the knowing circuit, which I'm going to go into, and we've got the centering circuit. Okay. And so this is just another graphic to show us those groupings. Okay. So let's look at these two circuits today. So to be an individual is to be an example. If you're truly uniquely you, then you will be an example to others. You're going to be like, it's like, wow, they really know what they want. Like they really feel strongly about themselves and they don't care what other people think. I've noticed that my whole life because that is not my inherent way. I'm like always like in touch with the other because of course I'm a projector. We're here to know the other. So I'm always like trying to know other people. And I really don't just have that fully like, I'm going to be me and I don't care what people think. I mean, there's a little more of that clean version of that frequency happening now, but it's not the same as someone with a lot of individual channels, which my teenager has, I don't even know, 5 or 6 individual channels, which is a lot. And like my husband has 2, my other son has 1. So I really can see that in the individually activated people around me. Tiffany has 1. The individual channels carry the sound of mutation and empower others, or just empower mutation by being themselves. Now, sound is a huge thing. We mentioned this last time when we started looking at individual circuitry. It's about acoustics. If you may notice, if say you know that you have an individual channel in your chart, or you see a loved one that has an individual, just start watching. Are they sensitive to sound? Is it about the tone of voice? Is it about a certain kind of music? Is it about, do you like their music? Do they like your, and so I've started to watch some of that, and it's very acoustic related. Okay, so part 1, integration channels, part 2, the knowing circuit and the centering circuit. The centering circuit's only 2 channels, so that will be a little bit quicker to review, but the knowing circuit, I mean, that's a lot. That's all this individual activation through the whole chart. It's every center except for the ego. So that's just interesting to note. It's not about material worth. It's not about self-worth. It's about thinking individually and speaking individually and, like having this intuitive spontaneity, kind of splenic expression. It's about this unique direction. It's about this, again, kind of unique response in order to determine direction, which this is the channel Tiffany has, the 214. It's about the drive to create something new, and and the drive to figure out what's worth fighting for well-being. It's the drive to experience an emotional thing or to express emotions, right? So I'm just kind of naming generally some keynotes between the centers, because you can already see it's about individually expressing all of the centers, except for it's not even about material worth. It's not concerned with that. Now, when you get into the centering circuit, there is some, ego in that. So we'll go into that too.
I want to take like one of the inspired things with y'all. Do you want
Oh, I bet Tiff doesn't realize she's off mute. Okay, I'm going to mute her. She'll be back, I'm sure. Okay, so let's get into the knowing circuit. And as we go, if you want to say, oh, I have that channel or whatever, just feel free to put in the chat, or we can explore this together. So, and some of my graphics, I mean, honestly, I just want to name, I'm always looking for beautiful graphics, but like, it's like, do I spend 2 hours making my own? No, I don't, because I'm a projector, and that's like all the energy I'll have for the day. But I mean, that's a generalization and not really true. But I know that this is a little blurry, but we still get the gist. Okay, so anyone with the knowing circuit, and some of this is just so much of the individual circuitry is the knowing circuit. Like it's, look at the body graph. It's everything but these integration channels here. So, I mean, that's a lot of channels. So we're going to see some crossover with general individual circuitry. So these people with the individual knowing circuit activation and channels are agents of evolution. I mean, they're kind of, that's the direction of our species, because evolution constantly happens. And that's just the nature of the way the cosmos works, and humans, but they definitely feel like outsiders, don't fit in, because if you're a unique individual, kind of empowering others to evolve and mutate to be themselves, you're not going to fit in, as we were kind of talking about. So yeah, they empower others by being an individual example of uniqueness. So the source of the knowing circuit is this 360, which is what my youngest son has. Boy, when he came into the world, he was the fourth. Like we had our teenager, and then we had him later. When he came in, everything started mutating. This is the channel of mutation right here, the channel of mutation, literally. So the source of it is this. And we haven't really talked about this too much, but any of these three channels in the root is a format energy. It's kind of setting the format of, it's setting the energy for everybody else around, like them all the time. So that really feels true with my 6-year-old, because he has that 360. Oh, thank you, Nadine. We can look at that. Oh, do you have now I'm curious. Nadine's sending her thing, and I'm wondering if you have the 360 or what you have, Nadine. So I'll pull that up. Okay. Well, if it's gonna, I don't know if it's thinking, or is it showing y'all somewhere? Oh, here we go. Okay. I'll just so we look at it. Oh yeah, so you have, okay, so the 3410 is the centering circuit. So we'll get to look at that. I'm excited about that. And then you have a lot of tribal, and then you've got that collective. So you've got a little bit of everything, Nadine. So yeah, so that's an interesting thing, because now remember, something that I just said this to my friend yesterday, because it's like, this is the mechanical information. Now, if it was just, you had one channel, you had no other gates, you had no other, elements there, then this is what it would look like. This is the mechanical information for that. However, all kinds of other things in the chart, it's an amalgam of all that. It's a synthesis of all of it. It's a synergy with all of it. It's not just, this is what's going to be. It's like, well, but it could be nuanced by this, because so it's really, that's where the experimentation comes in and the individuality comes in. It's like, you tell us what that's like to have the 360 with, or for Nadine to have two, tribal channels, a collective channel and an individual. Like, what is that like for you? Because we don't have, no one else has that, and no one else is you. So it's like, this is the knowledge. Now what the experience of it is, and the actual, how it shows up in the life, that's a crapshoot, that's a wide open thing. So, but again, singer, teacher, tribal juices, Jewish, synagogue worship person. Oh yeah, I can see all that. And think of how like acoustic that is, because you do have that 3410, which we'll get to in the centering circuit. Okay. So one of the 3 energy formats, these are the energy formats from the root to the sacral. If you think about it, it's the drive to create, it's the drive for response. It's response with adrenaline and joy and fuel behind it. So doesn't that feel like, oh yeah, that's going to format everything if somebody has that, which is funny. My sister-in-law has all 3 of these formatting channels. Boy, you can feel that in the mechanics. I've never seen anybody else with all 3. So what that is with this 360, the knowing circuit here, this is where it all starts, individuality. It's constant change. The channel mutation, constant mutation, wanting like this sort of drive, keyword of the root, to create new forms, to give birth to new forms, because the sacral is creativity, right? It's response, it's creating, it's birth, it's birthing, right? So so you can see, so that's just interesting right there. If you have the 3 or the 60, you know, to kind of like just contemplate that, just to feel into that. I like to just take in the info and then not, I don't have the answer, I don't know, let me just watch, you know. And knowing really demands an audience, so mutation can bring change. If you're just sitting in your room knowing stuff, you know, I mean, there's kind of an inherent, like, it's, I'm going to use a keyword of the collective, which is sharing, but there is an inherent sort of need for others to be around, even though you're your own unique individual. Because if there's no one to mutate, you're going to be driven to like go and kind of, you're probably going to have a response to go and be around others that can hear that can specifically hear you. Don't like to be influenced or told what to do, inherently deaf. We talked about this in part 1. That makes me laugh because it's just like, oh yeah, definitely like that experience with people with a lot of individual activation, or even, I mean, like Tiff, you probably, I mean, you have 214, which is this drive, you know, in response, knowing the direction of, you know, kind of having the keys to direction and being able to offer love and direction to others through her own response. But it's like, sometimes it might be like, I don't want to hear that. I can't hear that. I just know this is where we gotta go. This is the direction, you know? And it's like, it can be felt in different ways, and it can express, you know, high and low. It can express in a distorted way, or it can express in its highest form. But that's kind of the frequency underneath it. Did you want to add anything, Tiff? I know you're getting people out of the, you know, on the road and
I know
it's
a chaotic moment. No, it's definitely a chaotic moment over here with the bees and everybody, you know, cooking and leaving, and but definitely relating to what you're saying about like I sometimes the direction doesn't make sense, and sometimes I don't need the practical information, and I just know what I am doing. It seems to show up in a 3-5 way of breaking things, bonds made and broken, breaking things, figuring out what doesn't work before I know what does work. And I think it's been confusing, you know, to watch me and my brand over the last 10, 15, 20 years. It's like, what is she doing? But I know the way that I need to go, and it's okay. Yeah. I'm not for everybody, you know. I have a friend that used to say, well, you're just a different flavor of cheese. You know? Like,
wasn't there another one that someone said? It wasn't cheese. It was like,
yeah, you're born under a different star. Yeah, you're born under a different star. And it's funny because I was taking Georgia to get her tires fixed this morning, and we were laughing because she's like, yeah, I know how to get there. She went once, you know. And I'm like, I'm the one that should know the direction, but it doesn't apply to street smarts. It's like the direction of life.
Apply to actual going to a hardware store or whatever.
Yeah, no, that I've been to for 20 years. That's not where it applies. So that's what I can contribute.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, that's great. Okay, and the other huge thing is the knowing circuit operates on a pulse. It fluctuates and, you know, pulses. You cannot control when the pulse is going to happen of like, okay, now I'm ready to do this thing. I was talking to my friend the other day. She has the 360. She has a lot of other individual activation. And it's our friend that Tiffany and I have. And she has this, and it was like, it's almost like it can feel, and this made so much sense for my son. when I knew that, who has 360. It can almost feel like there's nothingness until the pulse is there. And so that nothingness can almost feel like nothing is happening. There's nothing worth creating. There's nothing new to drive, and give birth to. There's no change. There's nothing happening. And it can be like well, last night when I talked to Hendrix about it, he's like, it's almost like the blackness, it's just, and I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. So just kind of wanted to share that it's that pulse where you can't control it, but that can be the journey of this, is like, once you realize, oh, it's on a pulse and I don't have it. And that's what my friend Sarah was saying. It's like, she'll feel like that's where she's at, like 95% of the time, is nothing's happening. I have this great idea, but why, I guess I'm not moving toward it. Guess I'm just sitting here with it, not doing anything. And then boom, all of a sudden, it's like all of the other pieces of her design are working, and it comes together and the pulse is there. And it's not controllable. It's a response, So the pulse is huge, because I find that when I talk to people who have that pulse dynamic to the energy, it can almost feel like you feel like it should always be there. You feel like you should be able to control that, you can work on this and have energy for this and be able to create this and know the answer and, have the insight and, have the intuition and all of these things. You can't. It's a pulse. It comes and it goes, and we aren't in charge of it. So that's the journey of self-love, is like not trying to have the energy when the pulse is not there, just going, I don't have it yet. A lightning bolt will be here soon, and I'm just gonna chill. I don't need to, not that some people don't need medication, but I may not need to medicate. I may not need to like numb myself because I may not need to do caffeine and whatever. I may not need to do any of those things. Nothing's wrong with me. Oh, now I realize it's a pulse. It's also, you think of the knowing circuit. So in all the things in human design, it's like, we always joke, it's like that or not, it's like a pulse or not. You ain't got the pulse. It's I know or you don't know. Like, it's like basically what this pulse can be like is I don't know 90% of the time, and then I know. There's the pulse. There, we got it. It's there. So it's called the knowing circuit, but it doesn't mean you always know. It means you have to wait for the knowing moment to pulse and be there. Okay, and then the melancholy. So individual circuitry, we talked about this in the integration circuits, part 1. Huge to be aware of the melancholy, because that's part of this, like we were describing for the 360. It's like, there's like nothingness sometimes for that particular channel. It may not feel like that for every single individual channel, but it's almost that concept of just like, there's nothing happening. Like, this is horrible. Like, I'm just like, I don't know what is wrong with me. And I've heard, Tiff, you've shared that before, where you're like, there's a lot that feels wrong, but I kind of just want to cry, but I don't even know why, or like what, it's not like that emotional that I need to. And it's like, there's the melancholy though, and so the journey becomes starting to understand that, oh, that's the melancholy. That's part of my cycles, part of my pulsing, part of my knowing, part of my direction, part of my expression, part of my drive, whatever. And so using that as the muse, and not necessarily going out and not trying to fix the melancholy, not trying to just go do a bunch of things and be around a bunch of people anyway, and I know life, sometimes we got to do it anyway, but you can also say, I'm kind of melancholic. I'd like to sort of be quiet in this, or I need to step out.
With you on that one?
Yeah, Tiff, please. Yes.
So I feel like, I have some clients that have this going on and have for years, and that I've introduced human design to, but you plant seeds, like you don't force anything on anybody, right? But I feel like it's so frustrating because they keep booking psychic sessions, and they keep booking these sessions, and they think that I'm going to tell them like everything is going to change. And they keep booking these sessions, and I'm like, you're trying to go sailing without any wind. And there's a wind blower that we are not in charge of, you know what I mean? And so I'm always directing people, personally for me, especially with my design, I'm directing people from no God to God, right? Like that's part of my way that I'm operating.
Trajectory. Yeah.
Thank you. Trajectory. And so the people that are attracted to me in my practice want to hear that, right? And they want to hear that. So I know that I'm not revolting, but I know that I change minds, that what's the word, Leisha? Like I have a transformative
The
design.
mutation or
The mutation.
oh yeah.
So
Yeah. You are a quarter of mutation too. Like
I'm quarter
it's
mutation.
gonna happen all over you. Yeah.
It's going to happen all over the place. It doesn't feel great to be in here all of the time when that's happening. But the idea is that some people that are in your lives too, right, that are going through these melancholic waves, all of us in our lives, no matter what we're in. I'm in the role of psychic. I'm in the role of publisher. I'm in the role of beekeeper. You are in the role of real estate. You're in the role of musician. You're in the role of wife. All of us have this role. But the people in our lives, it's like they keep wanting something to happen and it's not the season for it. And so I feel like they're wasting their money. Like I'll say, you don't need a psychic for this, and I'm not going to charge you for the session because there's no wind. There's no wind. And that doesn't mean there's never going to be any wind.
No.
It just means that you can't come to me to affect a change in your life. And I'm sorry that you have to wait. But one of the things that Leisha told me early on was wait as long as you can wait. And that was a good thing to say because I love fucking challenge. Like you tell me that,
Oh yeah, defined ego, you're gonna meet that challenge. Don't tell me I can't wait.
You gotta wait forever now. So exactly. So the wait as long as you can wait thing, there's peace in it. It's not like this, how I'm presenting it right now. But I wanted to share that because I know that it's been very difficult for some clients that, you might be waiting years. And to tell somebody that as a psychic, to tell somebody that as an astrologer, sorry, Neptune just entered your 7th house of relationships. It's going to be dissolving things for 10, 20 years. I don't know. You might never meet somebody. Like you can't say that because we all have free will, right? And we all have these moments of time and we all have our individual connection with spirit. So I just wanted to bring that up. And thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks, Tiff. I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's also, my friend Sarah described it. It's like it definitely can feel like depression, like with this melancholic process of the individual channels. But just you have to start seeing it and going, okay, let me take the reasons off of it. There's not like actually a lot of reasons, or maybe there is, and you need to like work through it and get some emotional residue moved through and cry or like move or whatever you need to do, or do some other assistant type, modalities or natural remedies or whatever. But knowing that it's there, you can start to see it and you can start to go, let me paint, let me write, let me make some music, let me, that's cute, Tiffany. Well, me and Georgia do like, there's a soul speaking there. So that I love that. Thanks, Georgia. Thanks, G. Okay. So, oh, this is interesting too with the individual circuitry is that it's not nice, Nadine. I like that. Wait, I have to catch it. Can't hurry, love. No, you just have to wait. What a great general song for us to all wait, not just for individual circuitry, but for like, I feel like, okay, now I'm going to be having that going in my head. And then Camden said my partner has that channel, the 360, and definitely go through cycles of melancholy and almost manic creativity. Oh, that's interesting. Yes, it's that pulse. And boy, you're driven to create when that pulse hits. But the melancholy can be used as the muse as well. Like, how do you think we get beautiful? Think of artists, think of writers, think of musicians. They're not just like always super balanced and having like, this entirely great, way of dealing with life. They are going through this melancholic process often, and they have to sort of get it out. And that's what creates all this beauty in the world. So you can use it, not even use it. You can embrace it and love it about yourself and just get into the flow of that cycle instead of trying to push against the flow of the river, as we say. So this is interesting too, is it's not moralistic. There's no rights or wrongs with individual circuitry. So that's an interesting whole ball of wax that we could get into. So tribal and collective is moralistic, if you think about it. There's rights, there's wrongs, there's kind of these inherent, like the rules of the tribe are we do this and that's how we all belong to the tribe and that's how we support each other. And this is what that deal looks like. And same with the collective. This is how we share. This is what's logical. This is, there's these rights, these wrongs. But this is not about that. In fact, it may look real wrong to other people, but that's this journey, is embracing that and being like, but I know, I didn't know, now I know, the pulse came. So this is about knowing about what one knows or does not know. So the life of the individual is really unpredictable, marked by alternating order and chaos. And that's kind of like, once you know that, it's like you can, again, sort of embrace that and just watch and not get so, you know, sort of caught up in the emotional experience of it in a way. You can just, and in fact, Tiffany and I talk all the time, and we're like literally crying, but then we're laughing in this next second because we're just like, I mean, it's just hilarious. Like, it's a cosmic joke. Yes, it's like horrible and painful, but it's also like, I guess I'll cry then. You know, like, what am I gonna change that? Like, no, I'm gonna you know, kind of get on the ride, and just, the ride is everything. It's not just the fun parts, but it's fun because it's a ride. So that's kind of the shift. And then the kind of what we've been saying, need to have deep acceptance of their nature to be comfortable in the world. And that I don't feel like we necessarily get to, you know, we don't get to come in and just experience that, because the world happens, our families are around, like, no one in before us has experienced that. So like, for me, it's been sort of imparting that layer by layer with my kids, with my family, with my friends, with the people that I know in my life that are individual, and just by also doing that myself, by also just, I mean, that's the whole point, right? Because then that's your frequency, and others get to be transformed by just you being that. Okay, any comments before we move to like the looking at the channels? Okay, thanks for those links, Tiff, in the chat there. Resources. Okay, so I'm not going to go deep into all of these channels, but I wanted to just have us, you know, kind of tie it all together, because there's so many in the individual knowing circuit that, I mean, that would just not be practical, right? Tiff, not practical. Line 5. Okay, so the channels are the 360, which we talked about, right? And you can kind of go up and follow this. And so what this is it kind of puts that together in a way that we can see what this knowing circuitry of being an individual who knows or does not know, works on a pulse, you know, here to be unique and empower others through their own, following their own truth, right? And so I love how this is put together. So I put the channels here so you can see that. Of course, we can also look at each gate, which reveals so much about the channels. We can look at the centers they're you know, that the channel is bringing together. But I wanted to kind of put it together in a really flowing way that ties it. So the individual is here to mutate. We've talked about, right? The 360, the direction of others as seen by society, which this is this creative self-expression in society, in the world. So let me say that again. So the individual is here to mutate the direction of others as seen by society, which is that creative self-expression. So thinking about Tiffany, she's here to mutate the direction of others. That's what she's here to do, you know? So that's not always fun for you, probably on your side. It's not always pleasant, I should say, you know, if we're going to judge the experience, but it's definitely necessary and hugely empowering, and has been many, many times for me, who has an undefined sacral, undefined G, everything. And Tiff's like, you know, I don't know. I have this sense that this and this about the love and like your identity. And I'm like, oh my God, that's it, you know? So this allows me to see things, because just Tiff expressing herself and being herself. And then individuals will always, so we're going back down to the root, provoke others, provoke the spirit of others. This is the gate of provocation. This is the gate of spirit. So it's like, it's provoking the spirit of others by fighting for what they value in life. So this is the, you know, the gate of the fighter, the gate of the game player. So this is all from the root. So I'm just kind of stepping us through how they're putting this together, how this is put together. Provoking the spirit of others and fighting for what they value in life through their sharp intuitive awareness, spleen to throat, right? Flashes of inspiration, sudden insight, and what they say can have lasting impact on those who hear them, because they're speaking from emotionality, and it's like and it's with grace in this social kind of way. So, I mean, all four of us have this gate 22 in my family, and my husband and teen have 1222. So it's about being in the mood or not. You've got to honor your mood, you know, and if you're not in the mood, don't do it, don't go, don't be social, don't be around others. So I just wanted to kind of lay that out. I feel like we could, you know, spend more time there, but I want to just, that's a good general thing for the way that individual circuitry works. Okay, so I do want to still get to the centering circuit. So let me just wrap this part up. It's 12:44. Or it's 44 after. So the knowing circuit, individuality is the mutative central skeleton of the body graph. It runs through the middle. It's the joker in the deck. It's always the joker in the deck. The fact that no matter how productive the collective can be at establishing the logic collective, at establishing patterns, and no matter how much they would like to convince you that the pattern's going to stay there forever, the fact is that at any moment, mutation is going to take place and the rules are going to be changed immediately. And it's happened historically in our intellectual process. It's just the way things are. And that's that mutative individual process. Anything can change at any time. So that's kind of, you know, what we live by, kind of almost expecting that, but embracing it when it comes. So let's go into the centering circuit. It's only 2 channels, so it won't be as, you know, kind of as much to cover. So again, we're talking about the same thing: empowers individuality, empowering others to love themselves, because look, it's in the G center. So it's like, this is a different vibe: the ego, self-worth, loving yourself, knowing your own identity, you know, using your energy, right, to fully live your uniqueness and love yourself and life so much that you trust your inner guidance no matter what. Now that's just generally, you don't have to have the centering circuit or not. That's something that like applies to all of us, which is what the centering frequency is bringing us. It's like, oh, centering into what's the most important thing? What's the most like center of my truth? What is like at the center of my being? So we can feel that from others. Or, you know, Nadine, you have the 3410. That is one of the 2 channels in the centering circuit. And so does my husband. He has the 3410. It's following your own convictions. And that is, it's not about anybody else's convictions, it's about yours. And so, but that allows others to go, oh wow, they really, when they feel a certain way about their direction and who they are, do not push against it. What is I would, you know, it's not about what my convictions are. Like I can just watch and say he needs to follow that. The thrill of being yourself and the power to act according to what your nature is, not what your mind has learned to think about you. So that's again, general statement, but that's what that centering really does. Centering in who you really are and going your own way. That's what we're all doing with human design. That's what we're all doing on this journey. So it's almost like, to me, it's like the centering of it all, like being centered in a response to life. They can seem very balanced, which very much feels true for me in my close experience with the 3410, living with a 3410. Seems very balanced. I mean, just there's this energy there that's just solid. This is kind of how it feels. Nadine, do you relate to that? Like with that? Yeah. Okay. I mean, even just, you don't have to unmic if you, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, because I was telling somebody in a different meeting the other night that I've always had an inner voice and a sense of what I wanted to do and what would be best for me, and to not listen to what other people did. I was very sticking to music as opposed to studying psychology or French or something else, and then sticking to getting a job in a music that had something to do with music instead of just taking anything as a job in my 20s.
Just to make money. Yeah.
And sticking to a very, very long-term plan, which eventually music in nursing home care, then music in activities as a music therapy assistant. And then long-term, I got back into music ed certification. So everything was music, 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 but it was all steps to knowing what my inner voice was leading. Now I haven't been teaching for a lot of years, about 12 years. And I'm actually, my voice is saying it's time to get back into the arena into schools while they still into public schools. But I stuck to my guns about
right, to
all
your
of those
convictions.
things that made me tick. And I keep on going back to what makes me happiest is the music. And I need to have self-expression. And also, I guess people over the years through high school reunions and whatever, everybody always seems to act like, oh, Nadine, she's so balanced. She's so interesting. She's so well balanced. She's so intellectual. And I never felt popular, but I never felt singled out. So I was always, so their impression of me was also a very normal, very well-balanced person also.
Yes, I really relate to that.
I am really talented. I just was too shy to tell people how talented I was, or to show off like other people do, like Leos do. Okay, but anyway,
you're making me want to look at your chart, because
I'm sorry. I'm going to mute so that
being the natural. Okay. Well, I was like, she must be a second line with the natural talent, is why I looked, and you're a 2-4. Okay, so yes, so that's exactly it. Like, just seeming so balanced and not just flying off the handle. And I mean, not that there's not nuances to that, but I really can relate to the beings that I know with this centering circuit. I can be right where I am and be connected to my own center, to my sense of self. That's kind of the centering circuit, like the whole concept brought together. So really moving quickly here, centering in who you really are, and going your own way. So exactly what you're saying, Nadine, that's exactly what you just described. And being ready to leap into the void to start something new and shock yourself or others out of their comfort zone. Because this is the gate, this is, initiation needing to be first, which is innocence and shock, right? So, so that kind of describes that centering circuit. Okay. So what to do with this? This is how we did it last time, is we sort of look at what are the practical things we can do with this. So some of this is a little bit the same. Look at yours and others' individual circuitry. Okay. Honor your own individuality, even if you don't have an individual channel. I don't have one, but this is still what we get to learn from these beings that have individual activation like this. Encourage your loved ones to honor their uniqueness. So that's a whole journey and a lot of layers. Note when the melancholy hits and remove the stories, take space and be creative. I love myself and empower myself by listening to my intuition in the now, my response, my chemistry. Again, that's kind of, we looked at that similarly last time. And then, you can do human design sessions, relationship, you can look at all kinds of different connections and things there, awareness, and enjoy the ride. And then I have a quote here, and it makes me think of your song again, Nadine. Here you have the root of love, and here you have the most beautiful part of what empowerment is. This is where individual relationships can only find love. And the answer that the individual comes up with is, it's not about finding a way to blend with your partner and become one. It's about being mutually empowering to each other to be even stronger and even better. In other words, the way to be with someone is to empower them as they empower you. They can be so deeply, deeply melancholic individuals, so unhappy because these people these are people that aren't satisfied with sharing and support. Those are the tribal and collective people. They need that word of love. They need the look in the eye. They need to be seen as something that's unique and special and beautiful and wonderful. So that's kind of, you can, take that concept into what you observe in yourself. And also, like, are you getting these things? And also people in your life that have the individual circuitry. So, okay. That is the end of the class. We have 12:53. Do we want to open it up for questions? Tiff, do you want to add anything? What do y'all think?
I mean, this is awesome. I'm sorry I was out for the first part. Thanks for everybody's patience. This is so valuable. I just really appreciate what you're sharing. And I know sometimes it takes a while to integrate. So for me anyways, but it's so cool to see so many Wise Guys people into HD. We say that astrology is kind of the gateway drug for HD, and and it's just life-changing to me. So my two projectors are here and they wanted to say hi to the class. So I just want to introduce Georgia, who we talk about
Oh my
sometimes,
God.
and
The way
Callie,
you
we
just-
talk about sometimes.
Look at y'all, you're so cute.
Are
Oh
they
my
so
gosh. Hi, y'all.
cute?
You're so cute.
Good to see you.
Good to see y'all.
But thank you, Leisha.
Oh, you froze. Wait, are you there?
No.
You're back. Go ahead.
Okay, I just said thank you, Leisha, and we'll get the replay out to everybody. And you guys take care, be well. We'll see you next time. If you're coming to psychic development, I'm teaching the feeling senses. So I'm teaching on the 20th, I believe. All right, bye.
And love yourself.
Love
as we say.
yourself and your projectors.
Bye, y'all. Yes, love your projectors. Good one. We need like a sticker that's like, it's always, what is it like? There used to be, it's like Virginia's better for lovers or something. Virginia's for lovers. It's like
Right.
projectors are for loving. Like,
Right.
some saying. So get to work on your marketing channel with that.
I'm
Just
gonna work
kidding.
on it. The seed has been planted. All right, I'll call you when they get on the road, Leash.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.